Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheridan Nichols. Thank you so much for joining us today on Inside Bristol. We've got a great lineup for you, and we are going to start out talking to the owner of Jones Animal Hospital. I've got Dr. Ned Allen with me today. Thank you so much for being here.
You're very welcome. Pleasure to be here.
Well, a lot of us out there watching are not only animal lovers, but animal owners, and there are certain things that we all, as pet owners, need to be aware of.
Certainly.
And one thing that we all know of, but I definitely know I've not even done an interview about this topic before, is rabies. And we all have heard about it. I think I joked with you before we started about a show that, you know, that's what I think about when I hear rabies. But the fact of the matter is all mammals can get rabies.
Right.
And it's something that we all need to know about. So we're going to get a tutorial today about rabies.
Very good. That's important.
It is important. So what is rabies?
Rabies is a disease. It's caused by a virus. It's passed from one animal to another by any body secretion. You know, saliva is the main thing you worry about. Any mammal can get it. Now, there certainly are some that are more likely to get it than others. Bats is what everybody thinks about with rabies, but skunks, raccoons, cats, dogs. Horses and cattle can also get rabies. You don't think about livestock getting rabies. But a skunk with rabies in the pasture, the horse or cow goes up and noses it, gets bitten on the nose, and then you wind up with livestock with rabies, which most of the human contact we see in our area actually originates with livestock rabies.
Okay, now so where do you come into play? Do you see a lot of animals coming into the hospital with rabies, or do you try and do prevention, of course?
Thankfully not. You don't want to see rabies. You want to prevent it. Occasionally we'll have people bring in wildlife that have died, and we'll submit samples, and every once in a while one of them will come back positive. We had a raccoon that was caught just over on Broad Street in Bristol, Tennessee a few years back that came back positive. So rabies is out there, and it certainly is within the city limits. But fortunately, the main thing we do, our main focus, is prevention.
So now, as a pet owner, how do we prevent? It's a shot, right? It's
right,
an injection.
It's a vaccination. Puppies and kittens can be vaccinated anytime after 12 weeks of age. And a lot of people don't realize they can be vaccinated that young. A lot of people have in their mind, well, 6 months for a vaccine. And the reason that is because the old rules said they had to be vaccinated by the time they were 6 months. 6 months was the oldest. They say all wanted you vaccinated them before 6 months of age, but they can be vaccinated anytime after 12 weeks of age.
And then, is that vaccine good for how long?
The first vaccine they get is only good for 1 year. And then any subsequent vaccines, people can get either a 3-year vaccine or a 1-year vaccine. We strongly encourage people to get a 3-year vaccine. It just increases the protection, and there's no more risk to the pet getting a 3-year versus a 1-year vaccine.
And I think this is something common. If a pet owner has a pet, they come in and they see you, and then you just say, oh, we need to make sure that they're current on the rabies.
Absolutely. Keeping pets current on vaccinations is extremely important. Disease prevention is far superior to disease treatment. Of course, with rabies, there is no treatment. If you get rabies, whether it's me or you or the dog or cat, it's 100% fatal.
Yeah, that is so scary. So it is definitely something that we need to do. And you, I'm sure, keep a record and let people know. That's the one thing I remember with my dog, 3 years, and you're like, is it this year or next year? So
yes, we generate reminder cards.
Which is great.
Yes.
It makes it easy for us. That's what we need. Now, is there anything else that you want to share with us about rabies? Anything that we're missing?
Rabies affects the brain, so any kind of symptoms or signs of rabies would be related to that. You can see seizures, changes in behavior, things like that. The main thing is to caution people about wildlife doing things that are not typical. You know, normally nocturnal animal that's out in the daytime, you know, animals that are normally reclusive coming around people.
Interesting.
So any change in behavior could be due to rabies. So don't pick them up, don't assume they're hurt, you know, stay away, call the proper authorities about them.
So who would you call animal control?
Animal control, Fish and Wildlife takes care of some of that. Just kind of depends on what the animal in particular is. But animal control or the police department would be the first number to reach for.
So is there anything else that we need to know? I know you've been in the area for a long time and everyone knows you and trusts you with all of our lovely pets that we just love so much. Is there anything else that we're missing here?
That's pretty much it. Extremely important to keep your pets vaccinated. starting them at 12 weeks of age. And that's important. Go ahead and start them young. Remember, there's no treatment for rabies. Now,
Right.
if a person is bitten by an animal that's thought to be rabid, to have rabies, they can receive what's called post-exposure prophylaxis, which is injections of hyperimmune rabies serum to keep them from coming down with rabies. So if you're bitten by something with rabies, as long as you receive appropriate care in an appropriate amount of time, the survivability is very good. It's only fatal if it's not treated.
Wow.
And the treatment must happen before you have signs of disease. So
Okay.
as soon as you're bitten, seek medical assistance, talk to your doctor, and follow the advice of the healthcare professionals.
And rabies isn't something like ticks and fleas where they increase in the summer. It's sort of just there any time
you
of
can
year,
see
is that
anytime.
right?
Of course, sometimes your wildlife is more active than others, and the primary vectors are animals that carry disease, are your wildlife, your bats, your skunks, your raccoons, things like that. So they're more active during your warmer months, but they can be around any time of the year.
That's good to know. I just found a bat in our attic today.
Right, and sometimes people will tell me I'm not going to vaccinate my pet because it stays inside all the time. Well, that's great as long as something with
Yeah.
rabies doesn't wind up inside.
Right.
And bats can come down chimneys, cats can bring them in.
And here I was listening to my son who said, Mom, don't get rid of the bat. It's keeping all the mosquitoes away.
Right. Yeah, and bats too. Bats are great.
Right.
Bats do have a very
Now I'm
big
going to go home
function.
and say, listen to this, though.
Right, but not in your home.
Right, exactly. Well, I want to make sure we're not missing anything. Super important topic today.
Absolutely.
All right, if you have any questions, we all know where to find them on Bristol Highway, Volunteer Parkway, right there. So we'll be right back with the next topic. I'm Sheridan Nichols, your host, and today we're going to talk about one very unique program that we have in the region that is rooted right here in Appalachia. And to tell us all about that, we've got Kathleen Terry, the Executive Director. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
This is the first time I've met you, so I'm really excited, and thanks for joining us and telling us a little bit about what you do. So the Appalachia, it's called the Appalachia Sustainable Development Program.
Right.
And when did it form? Give us a little background.
Okay. ASD has been around since 1995, and we formed to try and provide opportunities to Appalachians in Southwest Virginia, Northeast Tennessee, to help them find ways to make a living on their land, to feed themselves if they are in need, and just basically come up with ways to help people live better locally, which is our slogan.
And were you a part of all of this when it was initially put together?
No, I was not fortunate enough to be around then. It was started back in '95
Okay.
by Anthony Fleckaventu, who recently ran for Congress. He is not with us anymore. He left in '09, and I've been there since about 2006.
And so sort of tell us some of the big goals and what you've seen over the years as it's unfolded.
Well, the big goal was to try and help people understand that you can make a living on your land. You could even log your land. You just have to do it the way it might have been done in the past, maybe with a little bit of improvement over modern times. But to just help you understand that, we're not against you making a living on your land. We want to help you do it forever. And so to try and help people find opportunities to help build local food systems. Local foods are really popular now, and it's partly because they're delicious, and partly because I think we're all getting pretty excited about supporting our local businesses and our local farmers.
And also just knowing how they're grown. I think a lot of people are moving more into wanting, less steroids or more
Right.
organic and just more natural. And for sure, we live in such a great area.